China has been dominating Olympic weightlifting for the past decades, and the superstars you know of today, like Tian Tao, Fabin, and Shi Zhiyong, represents China internationally on a global stage. But behind them are dozens of athletes just as strong and even more hungry to take the spots of the current Olympic champions. Many of these champions, including the ones that you never heard of, who never makes it onto the international stage, they all come from humble beginnings in China's rural villages. For them, weightlifting isn't just a sport. It's an opportunity to escape poverty, create a brighter future, and gamble for the chance to secure generational wealth. In this video, we're going to dive deep on the behind the scenes of the Chinese athletic selection process for Olympic weightlifting. And in this video, I have Coach Ma joining me to provide insights on how they identify potential superstars and how they develop them at different training levels with the ultimate goal of creating the next world champion. So now let's talk about athlete selection. There was this viral video on Instagram summarizing the selection process for Olympic weightlifters in China in a rural sports school. And I had Coach Ma join me to talk about the insights on athlete selection. He's personally gone through this process himself, being a coach in China and being selected as an athlete.
In China, every team, they have a bigger selection for the beginner athletes. Normally 8 years old or before 16 years old. As a coach, we go to the school, we take a look about who has the potential. We check the body shape or the joint, and we also have some equipment to test, to give them a test. As a high-level athlete, so must be have very good genetic, so this is important. So during the selection, so we test the athletes, we can see their potential. We let them to test about the speed, about the strength, how about that, endurance, okay? So we let them to do the sprint, like 60 meters, or some places we can do 100 meters. And also we test them the attitude to let them to run like 3 or 5 laps to see which one can stay longer, can run it until the last one.
So we see that talent identification starts as early as 8 years old to 12-year-old, normally in the 2nd or 3rd grade. And oftentimes these coaches would have a handful of drills and exercises they would have the kids do, such as sprinting 60 meters, 100 meters, jumping, running long jump or standing long jump, and also some other exercises such as overhead squats, single leg drills, and endurance. One of the interesting things that Coach Ma mentions was that long distance running. Although long distance running doesn't reflect your aptitude in Olympic weightlifting, it definitely reflects your attitude. Selecting an athlete isn't only physical, a big portion of it is mental as well. Does the athlete have the mental fortitude to endure as an athlete, to go through hardship? And these kind of little small tests really paints a picture of their mentality as well. And some of the physical characteristics they look for strong genetics towards weightlifting are big hands, thick joints, developed glutes and low back erectors, and also their natural coordination and athleticism. And oftentimes shorter athletes are preferred for weightlifting. Not only does it give them mechanical advantages, but also they're likely to excel at other sports such as sprinting and track and field, or long jump, or other events like basketball or volleyball. So weightlifting is a better option for people who are shorter. But it doesn't exclude taller people, since that they can represent heavier weight classes as well.
Before weightlifting, I done the track and field. I do like a shovel and the disc, and also do the sprint. But I'm not too tall, so my coach let me to do the track. But the weightlifting coach found me. They thought I'm not too tall, and they thought me very strong. When I do the pull-ups, I can do many, and also do like I can jump very high and running very fast. So eventually they taught me together. They said, weightlifting, more potential you have. So they recommend me to transfer from track to weightlifting. I have to talk to my parents. But my parents don't understand what is weightlifting. They thought weightlifting is dangerous.
Parents believe that weightlifting has a higher risk of injury and will stunt the child's growth. However, science claims otherwise, where your height is dictated by the epiphyseal plates in your bones and your growth won't be stunted by lifting weights. Even with the years of sport development and science, this stigma is still common in the general population. My parents included, and even Coach Ma's parents, were very opposed for us to train Olympic weightlifting.
The athletes, the young athletes, maybe they love the sport school. They want to do weightlifting, but the parents doesn't want them to do this. When we talk to the parents about why we select their kids, we want them to change their life and to help the young kids to become a future professional athletes and get the pay. This is one of the job for they can do like a professional. So sometimes little by little they understand. So eventually they support.
So you might be asking, why would these parents agree to have their child become a weightlifting athlete? Well, there are three strong incentives. One is financial. The state will sponsor the athletes' living expenses such as food, education, and sometimes even lodging on the local sports level. And the higher level you get to, let's say the provincial level, all of those things will be included with the chance, if they perform well, to get an additional salary. The second is educational support. As a young athlete, you're expected to go through the school program. In China, the academics is highly competitive. By the end of the 12th grade, you have your final exam that will dictate pretty much your future. It's like the SAT, but on steroids. Your ranking will dictate which colleges and universities you get accepted to, what programs you get into, and what your future potential may be. However, as an athlete, and if you do really well in your athletic career, you'll get privileges such as doing online education as you train, and also bypassing college admissions. And lastly is institutional support. As you go through your athletic career, you build your network with other influential people, such as your coach, their superiors, organizers, and directors. Within the weightlifting community, you get to build a name for yourself and a reputation that could lead to future career opportunities. And a lot of the former world champions, after they retire, go on to start their own business. A notable example is Lu Xiaojun. He now has his own shoe company, and also Wu Jinbao, who started his own equipment manufacturing company.
Those kids who are from the country, they are hard worker. You know, they are not spoiled. They listen to the coach and easy to work with. And you can see that a lot of the old champion, they make it successful for such a long time training. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why a lot of athletes from the country, they become an Olympian, become an Olympic champion. Like Lu Xiaojun, Tian Tao, Liao Hui, most of the athletes in China, they come from rural area.
So for many kids who are from these rural villages, their family often are farmers or tradesmen, and weightlifting offers them an alternative to their future career path that they don't necessarily need to follow into the same footsteps as their parents.
我叫陈心妍，我现在5年级，我也是13岁。我是一个举重运动员，我原本是练田径的，然后后面来练举重了，感觉举重挺好的。我练1年半吧，还是2年。我更喜欢练抓举，我觉得我还可以练很久。
想当专业运动员吗？
想当。
We visited multiple local sports schools during our China camps at different provinces to kind of give you a bigger picture of what the selection process is like. In these sports schools, in age 8 to 12, if they like weightlifting and want to specialize in weightlifting, they start to learn techniques. At this age, their development cycle is very sensitive. They have good mobility and fast recovery, and also neuroplasticity, meaning that they can learn complex movements very well and with long-term muscle memory retention. So this is a prime time to start developing weightlifting athletes, or any athlete in general. So in these sports schools, there's generally 1 or 2 coaches that oversee a group of kids from 20 to 30 kids. 1 male coach and 1 female coach. And they're responsible just to develop baseline strength, oversee their fundamental athletic development, and teach some basic techniques. If they have the potential and enjoy the sport, will likely be recommended to a provincial level coach. When they start training very light, typically just with the bar or with some technique plates as well. And of course, there are development differences between boys and girls. Girls oftentimes starting puberty a lot faster and are often stronger than boys at around 12 years old until the boy starts to hit puberty. They would teach them fundamental strength and conditioning and other bodybuilding drills to develop their overall body. During the summer vacations, the top performers of the sports schools gets an opportunity to train at the provincial training center. This would give them the glimpse into what life is like becoming a provincial level athlete with the potential to become a professional, right? Their day-to-day, their lodging, their living space, and the coaches that they'll be training with, they start to get accustomed and familiar with that environment. This also helps them build their love for the sport. One of the most challenging things is kind of finding an athlete who enjoys weightlifting, right? If you don't enjoy what you do, no matter how strong or genetically gifted you are, the likelihood of you becoming an Olympic champion or even doing well in the sport is very low. You must love what you do. And the provincial training centers are much better funded than the local sports schools. These training centers are away from the hometowns of the athletes, meaning that they would have to move their entire lives onto the training base, where food, lodging, and education, clothing are all supplied from the state-sponsored program. In the provincial training centers, they would have much more attention from the coach, training in teams around 12 people. The athletes would also use journals to communicate to their coach if there's any things that they feel personally in their health or any stress that's bothering them, affecting their day-to-day training. The coaches now step into the role of becoming their parents. They rarely get to visit home, maybe once a year, to see their family. And the rest of the year, they're stuck on base, training with the coaches and their fellow athletes for year-round competitions. And the tough part is the coaches had to provide them the love and also discipline for their athletes as well, especially being in a parental role. Sometimes they have to be strict with their athletes, and it can't be easygoing and loving all the time. They can revoke their privileges to go outside during their off days or add additional training sessions after dinner and before bedtime if the team overall underperforms. They also establish annual training goals, hitting this PR, getting this much stronger. And the reality is that if they're not on track and making progress, they can be let go from the team. If you become a successful provincial athlete, you're going to have to compete at the national games. This competition is more competitive than the Olympic Games, as everybody is fighting for glory and the opportunity to represent China at the Olympics. Even if you don't become number one, ranking top 8 determines your professional salary. The top 8 ranking athletes per weight class would start to make a monthly salary. The top 2 or 3 athletes will be selected to be reserves for the national team. But nothing is guaranteed. They still have to go through a tryout and selection process to be actually drafted onto the national team. Many athletes train for 5 to 10 years just to get a spot to compete in the national games. For some, it's the beginning of their careers, and for many, it's the end or last competition of their career. Most athletes retire around the age of 25, especially if they're not on track to place top 3 in the country. And coming from humble beginnings, from the rural villages in China, through the Chinese weightlifting system, with great determination and dedication to becoming a provincial level athlete and ambitiously aiming for the national team, is a very, very tough and strenuous journey that not many people would succeed. And there's a lot of consequences that come with it, but that's another issue. But sometimes in life, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And the journey of becoming an athlete in China can open many different doors for the athletes. They have the opportunity to travel across China, to train with the world's best, and see the world in their own way, in their own journey, and it shapes who they are. It broadens their perspective and potentially opening new opportunities to them outside of their hometown. And I don't believe that they're a failure if they don't make it as a professional athlete either. It's a highly competitive system, and it's not to blame. If they were to go to another country and grant citizenship, they will probably be representing that country in the Olympics. Whereas China, they're competing against a dozen other people with only one spot. My hopes and dreams is that this sport grows to a point where we're not dependent on having the very few at the top represent the sport. I hope weightlifting grows and it gives opportunity to all of these other professional athletes that don't get all the glory on the podium. There's definitely a desperate demand for good weightlifting education overseas, especially in the US and in Europe. And Chinese weightlifting to me is near perfection. Although it has its flaws and intricacies, I believe it's the best weightlifting education there is in the world. And that's one of my motivations for making this video, is bridging the Western world with Chinese weightlifting and growing the sport to the next generation of hobbyists, athletes, and coaches. So thanks for watching this video. If you like it, please help us grow by liking and subscribing. Check out coachma.net for upcoming seminars, and also sign up for our winter training camp because the spots are filling out. We're getting a lot of people who are interested. A lot of people sign up already, and this is going to be a very, very big camp, and I'm very excited. Looking forward to December and hosting the Ma Weightlifting China Camp 2025. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.